Hello
to all of you. Thank you for joining us. We are having one of our new live talks with Dr. Rav Michael Leitman. Rav, hello. Oren. Okay, today we will talk about education in the age of the coronavirus. We will have many questions you sent us from the bottom of the heart. We will feel Rav's answers on the way to a new life. So, Rav, what motivated the filming of this show is very, very emotional pleas that we received from a teacher, a woman of education, and she asked us to film this program and get answers from you regarding how she and other educational personnel in Israel and all over the world can relate to what their role basically in society now. They form the next generation. She writes as following: I'm a classroom teacher, and I want you to ask of Leitman if the essence of education changes in this time. I feel that I, as a teacher, must get to my next grade, to upgrade myself. So thank you from the bottom of the heart. So the first question is, how do you see it? It's a new time in the world, a new era, the era of the coronavirus. So the educators, what's different now in their so sacred of a duty? Love. First of all, I see great changes that may happen in the character, in the manner of education, in how education is applied through the internet systems, through computers. Perhaps you'll have classrooms organized in such a way, different ways to study different subjects. Also with children at home, they will be at home many more hours than they used to be when they assembled at schools and other such places. So they will study subjects, have exams, they'll have different exercises, and the way we educate, the way we prepare the materials that we teach, and also the way the student does his homework and how he brings it. So there won't be a school, like a structure where children assemble, right? It will be a virtual school. So I see that there are many big changes here that we will have to undergo. Also, I see that the educational system has been changing for a long time now. Whether it wants to or not, the parents no longer trust the education that their children are given there. They're not so happy about sending their children to schools, because it's a place where children see, hear, and learn things which aren't exactly according to the desires of the parents anymore. So we're not talking about education so much as the education system, the framework. The framework itself is a bad one. It's bad. Children don't like it. And they come because they don't know anything else. But when they come there, they have such conditions. They come across competitiveness, forcefulness, violence. You have the boys against the girls, and these groups against those groups, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame that our children undergo such an education, if you can even call it that. Yeah, that they have to go through such states. Oren, if I would ask you looking forward, right? What kind of values do the educators need to give to our children, to the students? Do the values need to change following the Corona era? The coronavirus only shows us that we can have this education at a distance, right? Virtual education, where there's distance between the teachers and the students and other students themselves. And you can arrange everything to teach through the computers, right? You can do it in different ways also. Not necessarily where the children are seeing the teacher. Instead of that, they can see video clips, movies, theater pieces. They can read more. In the classroom, they're dealing so much with power, forcefulness. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. I don't think children need to feel that. They need to feel that there's a new way in which people relate to each other. Especially at their age, it's very important, and we need to show this to them using films, movies, theater pieces, and also conversations with good psychologists through the computer, so that they could also meet such special experts in education. These psychologists can explain different forms and modes of behavior, why it happens, and so on, and children will write it down and they'll act accordingly. They will show us and themselves later how if things are working correctly or not. They should hold discussions, meaning education, the process of education needs to be much more through discussions, a more living process where they live it, they feel it, they themselves build their own proper society. And so from classroom to classroom, from grade to grade, until we see them, when they finish school, we will see them as people who are no longer boys and girls. These are men and women who are prepared to enter adult life, and they know how to relate to each other correctly, how to behave with each other. What kind of approach and attitude they have to adopt towards each other, and so on. Today, there's no such thing. It exists a little, but I see how they behave. It's all in order not to allow others to make me fall. That's how I behave. To lower me, not to allow them to lower me. And so I behave in such a way where I'm a hero, I'm strong, I'm special. It shouldn't be like that. The person doesn't feel secure, and he behaves according to what society dictates to him, and the whole foundation there is improper. Oh, and I identify very, very much with what you say as a father of 4 children as well, and you're emphasizing the matter of forcefulness, right? Yes, that's the main thing at those ages, because for children it's an age where the person's ego is growing and demanding of him to be independent, to be responsible, to be unique, to be invulnerable so that people can't hurt him. And this is for boys, and especially for girls, and between boys and girls also. There's different relationships there, relations between the strong and the weak, between the prettier and the less pretty. And as usual, for this age group who are very sensitive, they're very sensitive to damage to each one's ego, right? So we need to give the person more freedom. When I go to school and I enter the classroom, then when I enter the classroom, I'm constantly thinking of what to do in order not to be hurt, right? So that I will appear to the others as a little better, more successful in something than others. To never appear weak or afraid and so on. There are many different forms of behavior in the classroom, in that society, where I'm obliged to behave this way unless or people will belittle me, right? So it's not that I necessarily want to behave this way, but I do it because I need them to think that I'm mighty, a hero, smart, intelligent, and special, and so on. So there's a problem here, because we are in a society, in one classroom, we're enclosed there. It's like a prison, sort of, where you put 30 children, and you begin to heat up the relationships between them. And their teachers also. I was sometimes witness to that, how they use these relationships that form between the children in order to organize the children. Perhaps they have proper intentions, good intentions, but they use these forces in a very egoistic, very pragmatic manner. The teachers also are relatively childlike, but big children. Oh, and clear. So if I would ask you about this point regarding forcefulness and so on, how can a teacher, an educator with a new perception, how does he need to relate to forcefulness? Right? If it's human nature, even from a young age, and this is how people are built, and I as an educator, I receive the children as raw material, so to speak, how to work with this tendency towards forcefulness? We don't need to begin from that. We need to begin from the knowledge that our world is an integral group, and our world is an integral world, and so it should be in our classroom, or whatever group. Each group needs to be an integral group where the individual and the whole, the collective, are equal, and everyone needs to be connected well to each other. And it can be the 8 billion people of the world, or it can be the few people in the family, or it can be the 30 or 40 in the classroom, or it can be the several millions of the nation, the people. It doesn't matter. The law is the same law. Everyone have to be in relative equality, because the weaker a person is, he has more privileges. Right? The smaller he is, he also gets more privileges, and so on. Owen, how did you see this idea of relative equality? How would you see it applied in a classroom? Rav, I would teach it. I would teach it to the classroom. See, look how some are stronger, some are weaker, some are prettier, some are less. Some shout more, some are more calm, and so on. Let's write down 10 or 15 or however many you want. Let's write differences we have between people in our society, and how, according to those differences that each one has in him, his natural attributes, how can we give all of them an equal opportunity? An equal opportunity. Well, let's say I stutter. So I need to get 2 or 3 times the time to express myself than you, who speak very quickly, very rapidly. There are some who find it harder to understand things than others, so you need to give them more time to understand the material, to absorb it, or to explain it to them twice. There are some who don't care about it. They're not interested in any of it, so we need to bring them to a state where it's interesting to them, and to try. The whole classroom perhaps could attempt to explain it to such children. And more, there are many means here, many instruments that we can discuss, the whole classroom together as a whole. And we can discuss how to bring everyone to a state where everyone understands the material, everyone grasps it, and everyone enjoys the study. A state where the study becomes such that we don't care so much about the geography and history that we learn. What we care about is that through it we build ourselves as a society that knows how to relate to each person, such that each person becomes a psychologist of a sort. What do I mean by psychologist? A person who knows the soul of everyone, and of each person. And so when we study in that way, when we learn this, it helps us be more close to each other, more supportive of each other, more connected to each other. And that's good, because after school, when I finish school, throughout my life, I'll know how to build for myself such an environment where I'll feel good and they'll feel good with me. Oren, you said a sentence which I, as a parent, I sign on it, not just with both my hands, with 4 hands. We need to create such interactions between the students where they feel that they enjoy studying together. Yes, not the subject itself that they're studying, but the fact that they're learning it in such a way where it opens up very special relationships to them. Oren, what kind of relationships? What kind of relationships can cause a person to feel, a child to feel that he's enjoying the study? Rav, I use many different forms of students, different students, in order to build an integral society between them, where there are connections between all of them, between many such shapes, until I see these lines forming, weaving them all together between everyone, and creating ties between them all until this ball is created, like a yarn ball is created between us, where each one pulls the strings for everyone else. In combinatorics, you can calculate how many such threads will exist between you and the others. And this is in every shape, every way, every manner, and every discernment towards which we want to arrange a certain social attitude. And you said that the classroom where the children are growing, in effect, that's an environment that has many relationships in it, many forms of relations, but they're based on forcefulness, on competition. I'm smarter, I'm stronger, you're less, and so on. Love. Let's take that into account. Let's take all those into account. Let's now make a list of all these negative forms of interaction, relations, because we talked about the speed, the power, the intelligence. We talked about it in a certain way, but now let's talk about it through the negative aspect of it. Oren, what does it mean? Rav, we want to complement these things to complete them, right? So let's see how to compensate. Oh, and how can we compensate if I'm smart and you're not, if I'm strong and you're not, and so on? How do you compensate? Rav, what do you think? Owen, it's impossible to compensate. That's how nature made us. Rav, nonetheless, how can we come to a state where each one feels in our society that he's well off, that he feels good, that he doesn't feel rejected, oppressed, and neglected, belittled? We need to bring the person to some sort of a state where he feels himself to be comfortable and well, right? Nothing less than that. If the Creator made us different, I need to arrange things in such a way where we complete each other, complement each other. You know, it's written on Colt's tombstone, the one who created that pistol, the Colt pistol. It's written that the Creator made everyone different and Colt made everyone equal, right? Because each one has a gun and everyone can use it the same. So this is, of course, a joke. It's not something I'm advocating. Owen, okay, so how do we apply this idea and implement it in a classroom where each one is different, each child is different? How can I, as an educator, create such interactions in the classroom where, despite the difference between the children, they all feel comfortable, Rav, not only comfortable, but rather that it doesn't even harm him, right? Let's say I'm not smart, he's not quick, he has a different flaw and that one has another flaw. We need to give each one of them a feeling that he's completely equal to all the others. The Creator created us unequal, and we build a society where everyone is equal. Rav, how? Owen, sorry. How do we build a society where each one feels equal despite nature not having created him as such? Rav, I don't know. Owen, what's the key? You say if we relate differently to what nature made, instead of fearing to come to the classroom, I'll feel convenient, happy that I'm flourishing, opening up like a flower, as I am. Rav, yes. Oren, so what is the switch that transforms the atmosphere in the classroom? Rav, regarding the atmosphere, that's not a problem. There's a simple solution. Love covers all crimes. Owen, meaning, Rav, that there needs to be a good attitude between every child, between all the children, right? Good relations, like a mother and her children. They're all different, but she relates to them all as equals, or equally, meaning she gives each one of them what he requires. But the mother loves all her children. That's not the reality of a classroom. Love. That is ultimately what the Creator is demanding of us. Well, of course, not in a group of children and not in the, let's say, ideal way, but as part of our education, which we build, this is the main thing we have to do in the classroom. And let's define it exactly. Rav, the subject, what we study, and yes, Rav, what we study, our subject is how to make everyone equals, how to make everyone equal, all as one group, one unit, and to feel that we are connected together with one heart. And that's it, I would say. Oren, this painting you drew for us now, can you define it as the goal which the educator wants to bring the group, the classroom to? Rav, without them achieving that, it's forbidden for them to come out of the classroom and join adult life. And because they're still not qualified, Rav, because of how they'll behave, like they do now. All right, so give me some exercise, the first exercise that an educator can do with his group of students in order to bring them closer to that new feeling, that new sensation. A practical exercise. Rav, the game of soccer. Oren, soccer is played today also. Rav, yes. A game of soccer where each one thinks of how to assist his friend in the group. Oren, what does it mean to assist, to compliment them? Rav, it means that I want my teammates to enjoy the fact that we're playing together against another team. Oren, and if one of us isn't such a good player, Rav, it doesn't matter if he's good or not at soccer. What's important is that we want to play together in such a way where I want to please all my friends, to delight them, for them to enjoy the game. Oren, and this is what each of us needs to think, regardless of his level at soccer, how I make everyone enjoy the game. Rav, did you ever see how mother or father play with the child, assist him? Oren, yes, of course. Rav, yeah, you help him succeed, even to beat you in the game, right? Oren, and what will I gain from this, from doing this, as a child? Rav, pleasure from connection. Because by that you fulfill the condition of let him feel good with you, as it is written. Oren, okay, so one last thing, Rav Leitman. An educator needs to put, what does he need to put in front of himself? To place in front of himself. Rav, a good interconnected society where love can be born. Oren, amen and amen. That's very beautiful. A place where love can be born. Thank you, Rav Leitman. Thank you all for joining us as well. New life, learning to live well. Join us again. Goodbye.